Good Monday morning, everyone. Today, Carl and I will be talking about Age of Empires. So, Age of Empires is a real-time strategy game released in 1999. There are 13 playable civilizations. It's set in the medieval time period, so if you're thinking Charlemagne, William Wallace, Joan of Arc, and you've got the right general time frame down for that. So, any basic medieval civilization from the Britons to the Chinese, Japanese, Mongols, some more. What me and Carl actually play is the HD version, which was released in 2013, which not only incorporates Age of Empires 2, Age of Kings, it also incorporates the expansion Age of Conquerors, so there are more civilizations, 5 more civilizations that you can play with. And there's some improvements in gameplay. Obviously, the graphics are better, it's in HD. And the villagers are smarter if you've ever played Age of Empires. You know what I'm talking about. So the basic premise of the game is you'll start out on a map that's usually randomly generated, and what you want to do is you'll gather natural resources to build up your civilization, and then you'll build an army to conquer and crush your opponents under your boot. So there are 4 ages that you in the game. You start out in the Dark Ages, which, as it sounds, is a very primitive time during your civilization. You don't really have a lot of technologies available to you, and basically militarily all you can make is a man with a club, so it's not very effective. So people usually try to get out of that fairly quickly. Next is the Feudal Age. It gives you more military options, and you can upgrade your villagers to be faster gatherers of resources, and I'll go into that a little bit later. Next is the Castle Age, where you can obviously build castles. It also gives you access to siege weapons, which are very helpful in destroying your enemy base. Also, you can build more town centers, which helps you boom your economy to support your military expeditions. And then finally, you have the Imperial Age, which gives you access to all of the technologies for your civilization that you choose. Each civilization has a different technology tree, so you need to be careful which one you choose and not get stuck. Not the kind of technologies that you want to use. So being an Imperial Age can really give you an advantage of your foes militarily and economically. So in the beginning of the game, you're basically just building up your economy, so we'll talk about that first. This is a typical screenshot of what an Age of Empires game would look like when you start out. You can see the structure in the middle there is a town center. It's probably one of the most important structures in the game for you to have. It serves multiple functions. Primarily it's used to create villagers, which are the 3 units down there. You can have male and female villagers. There's really no difference, I guess, in sexual equality for that. It can be used as a defensive structure as well. You can garrison villagers inside, and it will shoot arrows at invaders that come into your territory. Also, it's where you stockpile all your resources. You can see up there on the top, I'll zoom in later, explain that more. You have a resources bar. And then you also have a scout cavalry unit, which can be used to explore the map and find resources and monitor enemy activity. Because when you start the game, the map is totally black spot where you can't see anything, so you need your scout to discover different areas on the map for you. And here you have your resources bar. There are 4 resources that you can gather in Age of Empires. You have wood, food, gold, and stone. Early game wood is very important. It's actually important throughout all the game, but you need that to build any structure in Age of Empires. So if you want to build economic buildings, military buildings, you're going to have wood. So you'll need that. I think the only structure that doesn't require wood is a castle. It's just stone. So next is food, which is also very important early game, because that's what you need to build villages. They cost 50 food, so if you don't have any villagers to gather resources, then you're going to suffer very, very badly economically. Next is gold. Gold and stone are more important late game because there's usually a finite amount on the map. There's a finite amount of wood on the map, but it's usually very abundant. Gold and stone are a little bit more limited that you can have access to, so gold is really important in researching the different technologies that you want. Even getting through different ages, you'll need a certain amount of gold to get from the feudal age to the castle age to imperial age. So that's very important. Also, military units usually cost gold, especially more expensive than imperial ones and cost gold, so amassing them can be very expensive. And then stone is very important for defensive structures such as castles, walls, defensive towers, which Carl will go into a little bit later. But fortifying the defense of your base, you need stone. Right. So what I was talking about earlier, where you stockpile your resources at your town center, that means your villager would gather a resource and then take it all the way back to your town center. But if, let's say you have a stand of trees and you're trying to chop, it's not close to your town center, and that means your villager would have to chop the tree and walk the long distance to your town center. It's not very efficient, so you can build a lumber camp, which will allow you to stockpile wood into the lumber camp there instead of having your villagers walk all over the place. You can also research technology at the lumber camp to make your villagers chop wood faster. And here we have a mining camp, which is the same idea as a lumber camp. You can research technologies here to make your villagers faster at mining stone and gold. And then this is what a gold would look like on the Age of Empires. See, they have some mining camps here and some defensive structures to make sure no one steals their gold. And then this is what stone would look like in Age of Empires. And then here is a mill. It's along the same lines as the lumber camp and the mining camp, except for food. The difference with the mill is like once you build one, then you can start building farms, which I'll go into a little bit later. But usually early on in the game, you don't have a lot of villagers on wood, and farms cost a fair amount of wood. So you have different options for gathering food. You can hunt game to gather food in Age of Empires. So you can kill sheep and turkeys. They're usually more domesticated, because you can send units out and capture them, and then you can control them, you can send them to your mill or whatever, and then start gathering food from them there. Deer are different in the sense that once you start attacking them, they'll run away. So you want to have a number of villagers attacking them to kill them quickly before they get too far from your town center or your mill. And then boar hunting in Age of Empires is a little bit of tricky business, because once you start attacking boar, he will attack back. And if you're not managing your villages properly, you will lose a villager and be killed by the boar. So the general strategy here is to have the villager go attack the boar and then run away back to your town center, where you have like 7 or 8 villagers waiting, and then you just gang up on the boar and kill him, and then you can gather his meat. And also you can fish in Age of Empires. You can send a villager to the shore to fish from the shore, or you can build fishing ships, which I'll show a picture of later. Alright, so this is a picture of farms. The building with windmill is the mill there, and buildings look different once you go through different ages to look more civilized, I guess, or advanced. And so to make this many farms, you'll need a fair amount of wood. So this is probably like in the castle age, this person having those many farms. And then here is a market, which is a structure where you can sell and trade the resources that you have. So if you have excess wood, then you can sell it for gold and buy other resources that you're lacking. Also with the market, you can build trade carts. And the idea here is that you build the trade cart at your market, and then you can send it to an allies market, or I learned recently, you can secretly trade with an enemy market. You're very bold. And then what you do here is you'll have the trade cart travel to the market, your destined market, and it'll do whatever trading it needs there, and it'll come back with a certain amount of gold based on the distance that your market is from the market that you're trading with. And so that's just another option for gathering gold. Here is our docks. It's sort of an economic / military building, because you can build warships here, not just economic ships. And you have here the fishing ships that I was talking about earlier. They'll go out and fish and then bring back the fish to your docks, and they'll show up automatically in your food resource. And lastly, I'm going to talk about relic gold. This is another option for getting gold in Age of Empires. You can see here the structures that are shown are monasteries, which is where you can build monks, which serve military and economic purposes, which Carl will go into later. But based from an economic standpoint, what you have is the monk. You can see the little highlighted unit there, and he's carrying a relic. I guess he's stealing it from the orange monasteries on fire. So what you'll do is you'll take the relic and garrison it in your monastery, and it will slowly generate gold. And there are 5 relics on each map, and the more relics you have in your monastery, you generate more gold, obviously. And so this is what a monastery with relic garrisoned in it would look like. You have a little flag pop up to show you that you actually have a relic in your monastery. And those are just 2 Aztec or Mayan monks there. Now Carl will go into more of the military aspects of Age of Empires and some strategies you can employ to destroy your enemies.
Thanks, Andrew. So the basics of Age of Empires in terms of the military is you have your villagers, once you have enough resources, build buildings that can create various units, and the different kinds of units that you can make are pretty, there's a pretty wide variety of them, and I'll show you the general buildings that are available. Let me turn that this on. Anyways, you'll see at the top of the screen there's going to be a barracks, archery range, stable, and siege workshop. The barracks can build swordsmen and pikemen that do hand-to-hand combat. The archery range, you can build archers and things that shoot arrows, like cavalry archers. And at the stable, you can build horse units, like your camels, your heavy cavalry, and your scout cavalry. And at the siege workshop is where you build units that are very effective against buildings, such as rams, catapults, and bombard cannons. And for buildings, you also want to build defensive structures, such as these fortified walls and gates, so that the enemy cannot enter into your base. And also, you can build towers that actively defend your base, such as the guard tower, the castle, and the bombard cannon. And what they do is when they see enemy units, as they'll appear soon, they'll attack them and shoot them so that they can't get into your base and attack you. And besides these basic military units, you can, once you build these buildings, which is the blacksmith and then the university, you can research technologies that make your troops a little more efficient, such as having more armor, more attack, etc. And next, I'll just show you what a typical battle looks like in Age of Empires. So once you've built up your army, I have a pretty standard army that you would have in Age of Empires. You have knights, swordsmen, archers, catapults, and monks. So what monks can also do is they can convert enemy units and also heal your units. But and you can see at the bottom of the screen there are controls to change the formation that your army is standing in. And this formation, for example, in the box, they would protect the more weaker units, such as the monks and the archers, and have the stronger armored units, such as knights, on the outside. And there are various formations, such as spreading them out, so that if your troops are getting attacked by catapults, that one hit will not do as much damage to all of your troops if they're more spread out. So soon they're going to come up against an enemy force, and we'll see what happens in battle. And you can see the little green bars above them is what shows their health. And as they fight, they lose the health, and monks can actually help them slowly regenerate health. And these videos that we made are actually in-game footage of what Andrew had, right? So my YouTube channel right now has these two videos because there's no way to load video directly into Prezi. You have to go through the YouTube. Upload on YouTube. But basically, the general idea is you have your archers in the back trying to shoot them, and you send your hand combat units in there. And there are different ways to pair up the units that I'll go into a little later, because not all units are the same. For example, some units are better against certain different types of units. And for example, catapults, you want to be careful because their shots can damage your own troops if they're close together at the enemy. So, like I said, the general strategy you would see is there's some basic tips that you want to use. They're kind of self-explanatory. Pikemen are better against cavalry. Horses don't want to charge against the wall of spears. Cavalry is good at chasing down archers because they're on foot and they don't move as fast. So the cavalry have a lot of armor. They run up to the archers and kill them. Archers are effective against infantry because it takes a while for the infantry to walk up to them, and by that time they're probably already dead. And swordsmen are surprisingly good at attacking buildings, and just in general, hand-to-hand combat units are good against siege weapons because siege weapons need a minimum range for them to fire. They can't fire at you directly from point blank. And siege weapons obviously are very good against infantry building and infantry that are massed together. And each civilization, as we said before, there are 13 different playable civilizations, and each civilization has different technologies and units that are available to them. And on top of that, they have a unique unit that can be made at the castle, which are shown here. This is just the different types of units available to different civilizations, and they all have kind of unique properties. Some of them are infantry, some of them are archers, and we even have a war elephant that Persians can use, and those have so the amount of hit points that they have, for example, the war elephant is very hard to kill, but it costs a lot of gold, and they're very expensive and take a long time to make. So a little more detailed tactics, especially if you play against a multiplayer, people who have been doing this for a long time. The key is to be very fast and very efficient with your gameplay. Oftentimes, just the 30 seconds of lag will make or break a game. So a lot of times what you see is rushing people early on. So before you even get to the later ages and have more advanced troops, people might just build up all of their resources into one thing that's required to make, for example, the first men with clubs, and they'll just send 30 men with clubs into your base before you even have a chance to have your defenses up, and that might end the game very quickly. Another tactic would be to fast castle, which means don't worry about anything else, but just try to get enough money to advance into the castle age, and then from there have your superior units go out and go attack your enemies who might not be as advanced as you yet. And villager harassment is very important because your resources are everything, and in terms of playing against human players, you're limited by your speed as to how many things you can do. So a lot of times, if you just send some early units to go harass their villagers that are chopping wood and just make sure that they can't get to their wood or gold or stone, then that really hampers their economic progress, and that can make a huge difference later on in the game. You will be so much more in the lead. And another tactic would be turtling in your base, which means early on just building as many defensive structures as you can and turtle in and just boom your economy from there, and don't do anything, don't worry about the enemy, and then from there on build up a huge army to attack your base, to attack the enemy base. And garrisoning troops inside rams. So rams are very unique in that they're very slow, but they can take a lot of arrow fire. So oftentimes, if you want to attack someone's base, you can put your infantry and your foot troops in the rams, and then ride them into the enemy base so that they'll be protected from arrow fire. And then once they're in the base, the rams can go attack the buildings, and then you can let your troops out and slaughter their units. And also another very cheap tactic is to construct military buildings in another person's base so that you can constantly just create units and it'll go directly into the base. You don't have to walk them all across the map, and that is very, very annoying. It's something that the computer always does. Because when you play against the computer,